Howdy, y'all, and welcome to episode 3 of the Barnyard Banter podcast, where boots meet microphones and agriculture takes center stage.
We're your hosts, Peyton Roberts
and Riley Rinke. We're members of the Azle FFA chapter, and we're on a mission to bring the ag industry to life. One story, one laugh, and one barnyard tale at a time.
Each episode, we'll be chatting with farmers, ranchers, ag teachers, FFA members, and industry experts that are out there making a difference in the world of agriculture.
Whether you're hauling hay, feeding calves, planting crops, or simply just curious where your food comes from, this podcast is for you.
So sit back, grab a sweet tea, and hop on the tractor as we dive into the wild, wonderful, and sometimes downright muddy world of agriculture. Welcome to Barnyard Banter.
First off, we'd like to thank our amazing guests for joining us today as we take a deep dive into sheep production. Now it's time for some trivia. Are you ready? What is crimp?
Riley, like how you did your hair today?
I mean, that's a great guess, but wrong species. It's it's the waves in the wool that can help determine the wool grade. The more you know. All right, Payne, why don't you introduce our guest for today?
Our guest today is KaytLynn Lemley, who is a senior at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, majoring in animal science, a proud Texas native. She grew up just outside of Fort Worth and spent several years immersed in FFA, serving as the Azle FFA president for 2 years. With experience in LDEs, CDEs, and SDEs, KaytLynn Lemley has been an active voice in the agricultural community. She has spent time working for Leggett's You Gotta Believe Livestock, working all the way up to travel executive. Interned for Axarben, the Parker County Livestock Show, Willoughby Sales, and will be interning at the Nebraska State Fair this fall. Her passion for showing livestock, especially sheep, at the local, state, and national levels led her to launch Farm Fierce, a small business dedicated to providing durable, effective leg wraps that promote shag growth and last multiple show seasons. She currently operates Farm Fierce full-time while also working as a communications intern for the Institute of Agriculture and Natural Resources. KaytLynn brings a unique blend of hands-on livestock experience, entrepreneurial spirit, and ag leadership to every conversation. We're thankful to have you on. Can you tell us a little more about yourself?
Thank you. So, I didn't start any journey in agriculture until I got into FFA in high school. So growing up in Texas, I always had this idea I was going to grow up and go to Texas A&M and become a vet. Obviously, that's not how things panned out, or at least this far for my undergrad. And so through being involved in FFA, I had kind of been around showing sheep, what I would consider like cousins to me. Their dad and my dad grew up together. They showed in high school. My dad showed pigs, and my uncle showed sheep, and so that's kind of how I got my start and everything. My freshman year of high school, I got asked sheep or goats. At first, it was like, oh, I want to do a goat. Like, they have a halter. That would be cool. And my uncle was like, yeah, no, you're showing a South Down. And so that's how my journey and everything got started, was one little South Down out of Colorado when I was 15 at the time. And now here I am a bunch of years later, still doing it. So, yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your college agriculture experiences and your plans after graduation?
So throughout my college career, I've stayed with my animal science major, which in the fall of 2023, I actually debated changing. I ended up in the University of Nebraska-Lincoln because they ultimately offered to cover almost all of my college expenses. I really wanted to go to Columbus State, but that didn't happen. And so through being at UNL, I've been given opportunities to kind of help with Block and Bridle with our little Exarban show, which is when all of the college kids get to pay and enter into a little jackpot show and show animals that we have at our facility. So that's been really cool. And then I've been able to kind of go out to Nebraska State Fair and Exarban for a couple years, see some friends show, help on some operations out there. And then last year was my first year interning with Exarban. And I got asked to come back not only for Exarban this fall, but Nebraska State Fair as well. And then through being at UNL, we have a ag entrepreneurship program. We're one of the few universities in the country, actually. Paul Engler helped donate and pay for the program, and so it's called the Engler Program. And so through that, that's helped me not only with my college education, but with my business, so that's been pretty cool.
All right, when you were in FFA, how were you involved?
So my time in FFA, I spent kind of doing anything my ag teachers pushed me to do. So I started with, I'm going to show sheep. And then sheep turned into doing LDEs. So I was on Green Hand chapter conducting my freshman year. I somehow got thrown into Green Hand quiz like literally the day of district contest. My ag teacher was like, hey, you need to go to the library and take this quiz. So I did, which thankfully that landed me at state my freshman year. We ended up top 9 as a team in the state, I think, or 10th. So that was really cool. And then going into CDE season, we didn't have a livestock judging team, so I ended up on dairy cattle doing that. And then throughout the rest of my high school career, I stayed with the same LDEs. I think I added senior skill in my senior year of high school. And then I kind of got thrown into poultry junior and senior year just because I showed sheep and they're like, well, you can figure this out. And I was like, okay. So I did that. And then also senior year, I got thrown into doing a speaking development event. I think I did, I don't know, the one that's like not prepared speaking.
Extemporaneous?
Yes. The not prepared one where you just go in and draw a topic. Yeah. Did that. Actually, think I made it to area, but I was out in DC working a YGB camp, so I didn't do that. So I kind of competed on all those teams, showed sheep, and then through that, I mean, I was on our officer team my sophomore through senior year, got to go to state convention, did all of that, got all of my degrees all the way up to my American. I actually walked the stage at national convention last October. So that was really cool. And then that kind of led me, I just dove straight in, and all my FFA activities led me to where I am today. So it's been really cool.
What inspired you to start your own business, and how did FFA play a part in that?
So starting my own business was kind of on a whim during COVID. Obviously, the world was basically shut down at the time, and we had, I think, 8 sheep on feed, which to this day we still have 8 sheep on feed, and only my sister's showing. So some things never change. But with having that many sheep on feed, blankets and everything for them, it's so expensive. And I was like, well, I can sew leg wraps for them. We kind of ordered from Rural Sheep Co. out in Iowa, a set from them, and kind of just took it from there. And FFA helped me because I got to use it for my record book, but I also was able to use that as a way to promote my business in the beginning. Was, hey, like, I'm an FFA, this is an SAE for me, it helps my record book, all of those things. And so in the beginning, it was really cool to be able to use that and add it into my FFA record book and kind of promote my FFA journey and all of that through my business. I would say now it's kind of shifted because I get to promote FFA through my business, kind of, essentially, not being a member anymore and kind of being in my collegiate career and having that come to a close. So it helped me in a lot of ways that, looking back, I didn't really see in the moment, right? Like all of those record book skills that you learn, all of the balancing funds. I mean, I have to do that every day. My accountant, at the end of the year, she's like, okay, I need to see your numbers. So in a way, I have like an Excel spreadsheet that's kind of my impromptu record book for all of that data now that I've not been able to use the AET record book. So it helped me a lot, but it's definitely not the only factor that's helped me continue to grow my business.
So can you tell us a little bit about your business and like what you do?
So I think it was July of 2020, we ordered those set of leg wraps and we started kind of prototyping, researching what was on them, the Velcro and all of that. And we kind of just took it and adapted it to make it better for our own show sheep. I sewed one set, didn't quite work out, so we kind of changed some measurements, made them work for our show sheep, and then that's when I decided, okay, I can do this as a business. So at the time, I would sew what I thought was a lot of leg wraps, so maybe 10 to 12 sets in a weekend, like a Friday night and Saturday night type of thing, and I would just post them on Facebook, like a marketplace type thing, but not on marketplace, like just a Facebook post through my business account. And then that kind of continued to evolve, essentially, and then I launched a website in the fall of 2021, completely on my own, did all the design myself, took me like 2 months to come up with it. Web designing is not my expertise, and I continued to basically change our sales to go through the website versus me just posting on Facebook. So that became a lot more convenient for my customers and a little bit more convenient for us. As time has gone on, my roles in the business have kind of shifted. I continue to sew leg wraps. Instead of sewing like 20 over a weekend, it's 20 a day now, 5 days a week. So 3 to 4 hours of working on that. And then this last week, I spent a lot of time creating invoices to send out, getting quotes for our 5-year launch that we're going to do. And I also redid my website. So I do a kind of a little bit of everything. Marketing, a little bit of web design, a lot of sewing. constantly going to the post office and packaging orders, so I kind of do it all right now. I do have a lady that's helping me sew, so it's been, in the last 5 years, a lot has changed, but some things haven't.
So what do you think the biggest challenge you face in running your business has been?
I would say one of my biggest challenges is definitely, at the time, so being in high school was hard. To run a business, I mean, you're in school from 8:30 to 4 p.m., and then you're going home working sheep, or you're coming in early, or staying late for LDE and CDE practices. And so that I felt like was really hard to balance at the time, and now I have more time throughout the week, but I still have internships. I still travel. My life has not slowed down. It never does. So managing time, I'm definitely still learning on how to do that. That's been a difficult challenge, I guess you could say, from the beginning. And then the post office always has issues, so that's been fun. That's always fun to deal with during the holidays. But I would say time management has definitely been a key. Like, I wouldn't say difficult, but it's a key component to understand and be able to run a business and go to school, have an internship, have a job, do all of those things, and still, like, run a consistently successful business that, like, my customers aren't aware that my life is hectic and crazy, because everything continues to stay the same.
So now that we've, like, dove into, like, your challenges in your business, what's something surprising that you learned from working with both animals and a business?
Oh, that's a good question. Every day is different. I think that that's a given, and you kind of see that just as an overview right from the outside. Obviously, every day is going to be different because sheep never act the same. I would say how appreciative everybody is, because there are a lot of times where I'm running a business or I'm trying to work through a problem with the business, and I feel super bad. So, like, last week, I had a package that I have no idea what happened to it. UPS didn't scan it, got lost. The lady messages me, and I file a claim, and I'm like, hey, like, I don't know where it is. I feel really bad. I'm gonna send you, basically double send the order. And if this one shows up, like, we'll deal with it when that time happens. Super appreciative. And I've had people that have not been very appreciative, and so I think so many times you see, like, small businesses post, like, oh, like, we need you to appreciate what we do, but the truth of the matter is it's because usually when that one bad customer comes along, it's when there's a bunch of other fires that we're fighting and trying to put out. And so just, like, what surprised me the most is seeing everybody to continue to support even after 5 years, and considering that we've grown and things have changed. And so seeing that continued support has been really great.
Do y'all only sell, like, leg wraps, or do you sell anything else? And if you don't, then do you plan to expand it in the future?
Right now, we sell 2 different sizes of leg wraps. So I have one that I call my standard wrap, which is a 4-inch wide by 6 feet long wrap. And then we have a polo wrap, which is 4 inches wide and 9 feet long, that those are my project, my items. My sister has I think we've branded a Keep 'em Fresh towel, and it's a chamois with Velcro, and so that's her product. So we kind of sell those, and then I do some wholesale on some muzzles from Muzzle Co. that we recently added to the website, and then occasionally we'll add leg shag products and conditioner, and then my apparel. But we're trying to keep it. I have a project we've been trying to work on, but I think long term we just will end up not doing it because it's not, like, the ROI, the return of investment on it isn't what we want it to be.
Who would you say your target customer is? Youth showmen, breeders, or others? And if someone is interested in buying your product, how can they access them?
So as far as my target audience, I would tell you it's anybody within the livestock showing side of things, so not necessarily commercial side, but exhibition through 4-H and FFA. And a lot of the times it's when I am now partnered with, like, it's You Gotta Believe Livestock Camp, and so their target audience is a lot of younger showmen, newer families, and so my products are sold there. And as far as my online sales, which is how most of my customers access me, are either through online, through my website, farmfierce.co, or they'll message me on Facebook kind of through the business page, and we'll talk about whether it's a custom order, kind of what they're looking for. And so I would tell you it's the show industry as a whole, obviously specifically sheep, as the leg shag trend has continued. I have newer families. I have families that have been showing for years that still buy from me, so it's kind of all over the board. But I would tell you my target audience is my livestock showing families.
All right, we're going to do some personal questions now. So do you mind introducing your family and tell us how you got started raising market lambs?
So my family is both my parents, so John and Kim, and then I'm the oldest. I have a younger sister, Madeline, who will be 14, and I have a younger brother, Raylan, and he is 7. And I always tell everybody I did not grow up in an agriculture background. Like, it's just not. Being in Nebraska for school, a lot of my friends come from a cow-calf operation or a feedlot operation or like a soybean operation, row crop farming, all of those things. And I don't come from that. I grew up 20 minutes outside of Fort Worth. I'm like, I didn't know what a pivot was until I was like 18 and we're in Nebraska. I'm like, I don't understand what that is. Irrigation, what's that? Because in Texas, we grow a lot of cotton, so we're not irrigating that, right, with overhead pivots. That would ruin the cotton. So I didn't grow up doing ag. Got to high school, that dream of, we're in Texas, I'm going to go be an Aggie is kind of what fueled me through most of my life, but I never was involved with anything ag directly. My mom ran supply chain for Standard Meats, and then she stopped doing that. My dad worked for Coke, and now he works for Fairlife. My mom works for Texas Meat Packers. And so in a way, I've always been indirectly involved, but more on like the aspect of after it becomes like box beef or like slaughtered, right? This is what happens with it. So I came into college with that understanding. And then through high school, we showed sheep my freshman year. I showed one sheep, showed a Southdown. Going into my sophomore year, we actually moved outside of like the Azle city limits. So we had property, we had a barn, and we put a Southdown and a medium wool on feed for myself that year. And then we added more sheep after that. I can't even tell you how many. It was like 3 or 4, I think, after that. I actually won a class at State Fair that year. And then COVID happened. We were in Houston when all of that went down. My sister, I think that's when she was just able to show. She showed county that year, but maybe, I don't think we let her show the majors. And so when COVID happened, we were driving everywhere. We actually ended up in Oklahoma at Jimmy Davis's house looking at sheep. And he had a neighbor at the time, Scotty Reed, and he had some sheep. And I found a sheep, tag number 0012, so his tag number was 12. That's what we called him. And that was my favorite sheep, like hands down. Loved that sheep, jackpotted him everywhere that year. Well, this was in June. We went and bought him. In August, Scotty had been hauling sheep down in Texas somewhere, ended up in a car wreck, ended up passing away, unfortunately. And he had a bunch of bred ewes that ended up going up for sale. So that would have been fall of 2020, I believe. Yes. We bought 3 or 4 bred ewes off of him, and we started breeding sheep, and that was the beginning. And then in spring of 2021, we actually bought, her name is Fergie, our first Platinum Shelton ewe, and the rest is history. My dad slowly has added to our operation, and he actually just recently purchased a ram last month. His name is Play to Win. He's Platinum Shelton bred. We love their genetics. They're old Hurleman genetics, and so that's kind of how we got in our beginning, and now we're just continuing to do that. My sister's continuing to show, my dad continues to breed sheep, so that's a bred ewe purchase, and me buying a sheep in Oklahoma are how we got our start. Yes.
So what made y'all choose lambs over any other livestock species?
Well, we're only on 2 acres, so we can't really have cows. It's in our house deed to where we can't have pigs, and my dad has said he will never let us show pigs ever. He did that, and he doesn't want us doing that. And so me landing on sheep in high school to show is basically what got us started and how we've continued to do what we do today. And we tried some goats for a little bit, like showing goats, not breeding goats. Showed some goats for a little bit, and I don't think we will ever show goats after that experience. It was crazy. So yeah, the sheep, me saying yes to a Southdown at 15 is what started all of this today.
So how do each of you contribute to a day-to-day work, and how do you have specific roles, and what's your role?
So day-to-day is obviously very different because we're with animals. Given that I'm in Nebraska, my role kind of changes depending on where I'm at and whether I'm home. So I would tell you, right now, my little siblings are in South Texas, and my sister was gone on the sheep and goat tour in Angelo. And so my job is basically to make sure all the show sheep get fed, and then we have, right now, our ewes are split because half of our ewes, not all of our ewes, took in their breeding, and some of them, their babies are older. And so we have most of our ewes, our back pasture is split, so they're at the bottom, and then the babies and the moms that are still milking their babies are at the top. And so I feed our show string, and then I'll feed the ram because he's right behind the show barn, and then the moms that are on the bottom half of the hill. And then my dad basically the baby sheep, that is all my dad. Like, that's what he does. Now, it's not that we don't help with it. We just did pictures for our sale. And so I help kind of on the media side of things. And, like, if my dad has questions or an idea, we kind of go back and forth and talk about that. My mom helps out where she can. My dad travels for work, and so typically when he's gone, my mom and my sister kind of fill in those roles, kind of split the jobs on feeding everything and getting everything taken care of. When it comes to lambing, though, I try to be home. So we had some sheep that lambed when I was home for our county show at the end of February, and then some that lambed right on top of the Austin Livestock Show. And so if I'm home, I try to help lamb if that's what we're doing, but usually my dad takes care of all of, like, the breeding operation. And if he needs extra help, like giving CDT and preparing for AIs, we assist with that as much as we can.
What all breeds do y'all raise, and why did y'all choose those breeds over the other ones?
So right now we have all medium wool influences or blackface crosses. And we kind of just landed on that because that's what we had, that's what we bought. We started with that Platinum Shelton sheep. And so she was kind of like where everything began. And then we had the bred ewes, which were also medium wools. And so it was just, I want to say easier access to like breeding in rams at the time. We've thrown in some fine wool cross ewes that my sister and I showed. We had a couple of those we kept out in the pasture and bred a couple times, but you're kind of gambling. And then this last year, my final year, I showed a Dorset medium wool cross. So she's a spec in the Midwest. We showed her, and we're hoping to breed her to a blackface cross, but that pulls more white influence this next fall.
So how has y'all's process evolved, like, over the years? How has it changed?
I would tell you we've changed a lot of protocol when it comes to, like, treating them. So because we don't keep our ewes in a barn, they're kind of just out in the pasture, we have to worm them and deworm them a lot and give medication to ensure they're not getting parasites, because obviously parasites come from the grass. And so when they're out in the morning eating the grass and the dew's there, the parasites are more prominent. So we definitely changed protocol in that over the years. We've kind of learned our lesson. It's kind of a learn as you go concept. So we do a lot of that. We try to follow that protocol, and then we've AI'd the last couple of years. So we follow the AI protocol, giving CDT, or not CDT. We give CDT once we lamb. Doing the cedars, giving PG600 and all of that to get them ready for breeding. This year will be different now that we have a live animal on the property. I think we're still going to follow some of the AI protocols with cedaring, just so everything's kind of on cycle with each other. But it's definitely been a learn as we go concept.
Do y'all raise lambs only for shows, or do you also do it for meat production, or both?
So right now, we only show them for show. My dad was talking about yesterday, he was like, I don't know why we raise show sheep. Why don't we just show Dorpers and sell them for commercial production? It would make a lot more money and maybe be a little less stressful. Show sheep like to just, we've had ewes that get their head stuck in the fence. Like we had a ewe twice, 2 days in a row, got her head stuck in the fence. So we had to cut her out. And I was like, why do you like this? So we're probably going to continue with the show sheep for a little bit. We'll see what my dad decides, but I think this is where we're going to be for a hot minute.
All right, so we know there's a lot of, like, challenges in any animal business. So what are some of the biggest challenges for your family?
That's a really great question. I would say kind of in the beginning it was a lot of we don't know what we're doing. And so you ask people for help sometimes and they aren't always willing to give it. So we've kind of had to find, like, seek out the right people and the right help. Every operation's different, and so knowing what works for you and your operation, obviously, you know, we're not in a barn, like I stated earlier, so we can't, you know, there are certain things that we have to do more of that maybe if you're running an operation in a barn, you don't have to do as much of. So there's that. I mean, every day is different. Everything has changed. Me being in Nebraska, things are really different. I don't always kind of know what's happening at home. My dad doesn't always call me with questions, but when he does, we kind of try to figure it out. We definitely have battled a lot of parasites. We've had some strawberry sore mouth the last couple of years, but last night we were at a producers meeting in Decatur, NRS, and it's nice to know everybody else is also having the same issues. And so when you hear from people, oh, like, we've also dealt with that or we've been through that, it's reassuring to know we're not the only people, like, we're not the only ones in the industry that are struggling with certain things. So that's been really nice. A lot of what we've learned as we've went on, we've found some great mentors and people that we always ask questions to, and so that's been super helpful. But every day changes.
So I know y'all said that y'all keep y'all's animals not in a barn. So how do y'all deal with different setbacks like illnesses or weather for y'all?
For the breeding operation, we have a few huts that the ewes can go in kind of when it rains. They actually kind of go up there when they get ready to lamb too, so that's also a key indicator on that. Illness, we try to treat it as soon as we see it, especially with the babies, because and unfortunately things do happen and we do lose a few. Mother Nature gets the best of us sometimes, and so we try to keep a really close eye on everything. Being able to run a smaller operation with about 12 to 15 ewes and about, I think we have 10 babies this year. It's kind of easier, right? I can't imagine running a 50 head operation and having like 100 babies and then having donors that have more babies just than one. So being able to keep it small definitely keeps it easier, trying to see, okay, are they acting normal? Something's wrong. This one's separated. Kind of just visually seeing all of those things helps us treat for all of that. As far as weather, they're livestock. So if it's raining, they're in the hut. They're kind of, no different than cattle in that aspect. They're in a pasture. Now the show string, they're in the barn. They are the priority mainly to take care of, but for the show string, we try to treat illness and anything as soon as we see it to ensure that we're preventing everything that we can.
All right, now that we've learned some challenges that y'all deal with, what are some rewards that you've encountered?
I would tell you, for me, I've really enjoyed seeing our operation grow, right? Starting really late in the game when I was 15, showing, and then breeding later on when I was in my senior year of high school. Obviously, we didn't know everything, and so getting to see how our protocols have changed, how the sheep we're breeding and the babies that we're having, how they've changed, and how we've been able to better our operation, I find really rewarding. My dad would tell you that it's really probably great to see our sheep go be successful, because when we go to buy our ewes for our breeding operation, we really try to buy the genetics behind them. A lot of them do come from Platinum Shelton just because those are old Hurleman genetics. They're what got our show industry to where it is today, and they still work. And so we do a lot of that. We try to make good breeding calls when we're picking rams for our ewes when we're AI. And so doing all of that and just trying to make sure that we're breeding quality sheep for those families that maybe can't afford to go to bigger name operations and buy them, but they're still getting the same genetics. So we really enjoy that aspect and just being able to help those families and be helping them to be the best that they can, no matter what their budget is, right? It's not always all about the money, and so letting them be able to come to our operation, buy a sheep that's reasonably priced, and then see it go have a girl her senior year make sale for the first time, right? Those are the moments that we enjoy in helping people that they want to be helped and they want to be successful are some of the most rewarding parts of our days.
It's great.
Do you think being involved in agriculture and raising livestock has shaped who you are as a family, or like even just like yourself?
As a family, 100%. So growing up before I got to high school, before we started all of this, I played volleyball, I danced, I did basketball, gymnastics, you name it, I probably did it or at least tried it at least once. And so when we took on FFA and show sheep my freshman year of high school, I was still in band, I was still in color guard, and then going into sophomore year, I realized like, hey, I want to be successful, I want to be really good at what I do, but I can't just be mediocre at a bunch of things. So I completely scratched everything and we dove head on. My little brother does not know a life where he can't go outside and run in the front pasture or go see the ewes or go pick up a chicken from the chicken coop. Like, his childhood is way different than mine was. Way different than my sister's. My sister was about 6 or 7 when we moved to where we are now and when I started showing. And so she doesn't have all of the memories like I have when we still lived like in town versus where we are now. And so that it's crazy to see, right? Like, we did all of this. I played volleyball, I danced, I did all of those things, but now we completely scratched all of that. And basically my younger siblings don't know a life without a show sheep in it. So that's been really cool, and it has completely changed. I mean, our life revolves around the sheep. I have not taken a vacation since 2020. So if that tells you anything, I poured my heart and soul into it, and I'm all in. And so it has completely shaped our life. Like, we have, like, going out of town, it's kind of a chore. Like, it's not just, oh, we pack our bags, going on vacation. We have to find someone to watch the sheep. We have to bag show sheep feed. We have to make sure, like, our dogs are taken care of, which are the least of all of the concerns when it comes to the sheep and the babies and all of that. But it's definitely changed our life, but in a good way.
What's one thing you wish more people understood about raising sheep?
I would tell you, I wish more people realized, especially in the show sheep world, that they're not pets. My best analogy I give to everybody is a show animal is like a bodybuilder. They don't need to be walking around all day, right? They need to be in a pen. They're rationed. They're on a diet, no different than a bodybuilder, right? The amount of feed they get that feed for a reason. And knowing that the exhibitor, like the owner of the animal, they have to be a team. It doesn't work if you and your sheep don't get along. Or you and your goat, right? Any animal doesn't work if you don't get along, if you're not working hard at it. And so I wish more people realized they're just little bodybuilders. Like, they're athletes. They're not pets. I think that was something I was told going into my junior year of high school, right? They're athletes. They're not pets. And so I wish more people understood that. Obviously, they are treated way better than, like, literally any animal we've ever had. Like, they have fans on them all the time. They have water. Like, they are treated very nicely, but I wish more people realize that they're athletes, not pets.
I've actually never thought of it that way before, so that's a good analogy.
Yeah, that is a good analogy. So, do you see future generations continuing on the tradition of showing lambs?
I would say yes. My sister, I mean, she'll be a freshman in high school. She's all in, right? That's my generation. She's all in. My little brother, I don't know. We were in the barn the other day, and I have a sheep that's pretty broke. I was trying to get him to show, and he's been around it enough, like, he knows. And he has a little sheep, and he's taking to camp this summer, and he is showing the sheep. And I'm like, you have to hold its head. And he looks at me, and he goes, can I let it go now? And I was like, what? And he was like, can I let it go? I'm gonna let it go. And I was like, please don't let the sheep go. So, like, my sister might be the end of this generation in our show career, but I would tell you that it's definitely an industry that my future kids, if they want to be a part of it, I'm not going to tell them no, but I'm also not going to force them to be a part of it either, because I think being forced into it, you're not going to enjoy it as much. So yeah.
All right, do you have any advice for a family, like, just starting out with the market lambs or wanting to start a business?
With market lambs, my biggest piece of advice, or one of my biggest pieces of advice, is to make sure that you're all in, which I know is hard, right? Being, having younger kids, all of that. It's a big commitment. It's not one of those things where you can just step away when you don't want to do it, right? Like, they depend on you. They are getting fed twice a day. Having show animals is like having a child. They need all of your attention. They need all of your time. I didn't have a lot of free time in high school. Granted, I did choose my show sheep over a bunch of high school activities a lot of the time. But that's because that's what I wanted. I wanted to be good at what I did, and so I chose that. I'm not saying everybody has to do that. I'm not saying that you can't enjoy your high school experience and show, or enjoy, like, your childhood and show sheep. You very much can. But you have to also surround yourself with people you want to be with. And I think a lot of new families kind of miss that memo, right? Like, some people are in this industry not for the right reasons, and so finding those people that you align with, that maybe your kids and their kids have similar goals, I think is a really big aspect. My sister and I had that conversation after the Austin Livestock Show this year, and it was, hey, if you want to be good, you have to work at it and surround yourself with those people that are also good, because you want to have their mentality. So that's a really big key factor for new families. As far as for starting a business, being at UNL and being in the Engler program, we're always told, you're never ready to start. Like, just go for it. And so my biggest piece of advice to everybody is, you're never ready. Like, you're just not. There have been so many opportunities that I've been given for my business of, oh, hey, we want your leg wraps in a feed store. And I'm like, yes. But in the back of my head, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, what does this mean? Like, how many leg wraps are you going to need? Like, I have no idea, what that market looks like. And so, as far as starting a business, I think it's important that people know, like, you're never going to be ready. If you wait to be ready, someone else is going to do it, which in the Engler program we talk about all the time. talk about all the time is if you don't, somebody else will. So, like, don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait till all your ducks are in a row. Some days, you just gotta go for it and hope that if you fail hard and fast and you get back up and you do it again. So those are my biggest takeaways from that aspect.
Okay, so now we're going to do some fun questions. It's going to be a quick fire round, so you're going to say which one you prefer. So, Nebraska or Texas?
Texas.
Coffee or energy drinks?
Coffee.
South Downs or Fine Wools?
South Downs.
Dairy cattle or poultry judging?
Dairy cattle.
Official dress or show clothes?
Show clothes.
Sheep or goats?
Sheep.
Fort Worth Stock Show or Houston?
Fort Worth.
Okay, I will now give it over to Riley to do our Barnyard Banter Ag Report.
Alright, since sheep have been the main focus of the podcast today, we're going to give an ag report on the sheep markets in Texas. Overall, the sheep market has shown some great trends throughout the summer, especially with the large amount of rainfall that Texas received early in the summer. Hay supply is in great shape, with show forage producers reporting up to 10 bales per acre. This will hopefully help our producers see a reduction in feed costs and hay costs going into the fall. If you're looking into getting into the sheep industry, the biggest current trend is to raise commercial hair sheep. Most of these sheep have strong Dorper influence and are sought out in their hardiness, great foraging abilities, and easy management, since they do not need to be shorn. Also, this breed is prolific with the ability to produce 3 lamb crops in 2-year period, raising producers' profitability. If you're interested in more information, check out the Dorper Association website.
So, KaytLynn, we have one more question for you. So, do you have any funny stories or memories from raising lambs that your family will never forget?
Oh, funny stories and memories? I cannot count how many times my sister... So, we have this running joke in my house because my sophomore year of high school, we were at Fort Worth, so this was the beginning of 2020, and I had 2 medium wolves that were going to be in the same class, and I did not want them in the same class. Like, I didn't, because my sister, I didn't want to put her on them. They were big sheep, and we broke weights. They ended up in 2 different classes, but somehow one gained like 10 pounds overnight. So we were 5 pounds over our 5 pound over range for the show sheep world. And my dad looked at me and was like, you have to let that sheep go when you get in the ring, because it's going to pee, it's going to lose that weight. Because we were now like 1 pound over. So like 6 pounds over the weight we turned in instead of 5. And I was like, no, because my biggest fear is losing a sheep in the show ring. And I will not let it happen. I will let one drag me like I'm not doing it. And so when my dad told me that, I was like, no, it's fine. Like, he peed while we were in the holding area. I'm not letting the sheep go. Well, there's actually a picture of me at Fort Worth. I'm at the scale, and that sheep weighs out. So now my sister, also at the time, she wasn't showing, but as we have broke more sheep, and because I didn't let the sheep go in the ring, for some reason when my sister's breaking sheep, she won't let them go. She has been dragged through our front yard. She has let a sheep drag her into a pole, like a wooden post, out like in our barn, will not let them go. But when it comes to the ring, like, she's like, oh, if he's not going to do this, I'm just going to let him go. And I'm like, what do you mean? And so the amount of times I have seen my sister been, like, kicked by a sheep. There was a year we were in Oklahoma at a national show, and somehow her sheep, like, jumped as it was coming out of the scale and completely scratched up, like, her whole side. And she's still holding on to the sheep. And I was like, at what point do you realize to just let the sheep go? So that's been a lot of our funny memories. My dad, my senior year of high school, had been up to Michigan and found some sheep. And he came back and was like, there's this weather. He's really good. Like, there aren't any pictures of him, but, like, he's good. We're buying him. And I was like, okay. And then I was telling my ag teachers this, and Mr. Bell was like, oh, like, y'all are going to get the sheep and something's going to be wrong with it. Like, it's going to be missing a leg. Like, something's wrong. Like, there's no way that, there's no way. Like, something's wrong in this story. So my dad drives up to the Black and White in Oklahoma to pick up the ewe and the weather that he bought out of Michigan. My mom and I are in Nebraska doing my college campus tour, and I get a picture of the sheep and the pauper, and there's the ewe, medium wool ewe. The weather that he bought is a natty, and in Texas, a natural colored lamb just isn't, I don't see it, it's not for me. And I just called my dad and I was like, did you forget to note down? Because he'll make a list when he goes to get sheep and star 'em and whatever. I'm like, did you forget to note what color the sheep was? Like, to know that it wasn't just a white pelted medium wool, that it's a natty, like it's blue. And he was like, yeah, no, it's fine. So we've had a lot of those moments. I mean, my sister getting drugged through by sheep, my dad buying sheep that he didn't know was blue. I mess with him all the time. He's like, oh, I found a sheep. I said, okay, what color is it? Every time. I mean, that's fun memories. Yeah, like that's probably it. I mean, there's a lot of rough days where you're like, why are we doing this? Why did we choose to do this? Everything's going wrong. Everything that can go wrong goes wrong some days. We've had a lot of those moments. I've had a lot of takeaways from the industry, right? I would tell you that, and I've never publicly said this, but in November of 2023, I thought I was at the end of my show career. I had been working for an operation in Nebraska, doing their media work, had kind of made a deal like, hey, if I do your media work, like, I'll show your sheep. And so that's what I did. And we get to Louisville in 2023. My sister, like, stuff was going on at home, and she just, like, didn't want, like, not that she didn't want to show, she just wasn't all in. And so my parents were supposed to come to Louisville. My dad did the entries. I ended up not coming. So I'm in Louisville, like, 13 hours away from Nebraska, 13 hours away from home, with these 3 sheep that I had been running at American Royal and that we had shown at Nebraska State Fair and all of that. And we're there in 2023. And I just, at the end of the stock show and in the middle of it, I was like, I'm done. Like, and I'm not just done showing, like, I'm ready to walk away from everything that I had known. Like, I was over it. I wasn't loving it anymore, which I knew wasn't normal. And there were a lot of factors that played into that. And so in those moments that I was ready to walk away and be done, and looking back, and I talk about it in my personal statement when I've been applying for my master's, is I got so caught up in it's my last year. It wasn't my last year of eligibility. This show season is actually my last year of eligibility. But I was like, there's no way I can go to school in Nebraska and continue to show sheep at the level we were doing it in Texas, and like everything that could have, should have went wrong at Louisville in 2023 went wrong. Like, all of it. Every aspect, every way, sheep, people, all of it. Everything was wrong. And it took me a really long time to realize it. And my process here from grad school, I think the exact line is, I got so caught up in, I have to win a title, right? Like, I own a business. We have a show lamb operation. I've been working for, like, it's You Gotta Believe. Like, that is a very decorated staff. Those are national showmen. Like, we go all over the country. I have coached, I can't even tell you how many national champions on showmanship. And I got so caught up in, I have to win. Like, I have to have a title. I have nothing to back what I'm doing. Like, I'm telling these kids how to show sheep, and I don't have a top 5 at Louisville or a top 5 at Arizona National to prove that, per se. And so finally, in the middle of Louisville, I get out of showmanship. And I did really well. It was a sheep that I had done, like, she was my showmanship sheep. We got along really well. We were a team. Placed higher than I ever have at a national show. I think I was, like, top 12 in showmanship that year. And I get out of the ring, and I just remember I'm washing my sheep, and I'm so frustrated. I'm so upset. I was also sick, so, like, that didn't help anything either. Like, literally everything went wrong. And the owner of YGB Chaston, he comes and finds me, and he's like, what is going on? And I'm like, I don't want to be here. Like, I want to go home. I want to go, and not Nebraska. Like, I want to go back to Texas, and I never want to step foot in a barn again. Like, I'm done. And I, like, am bawling my eyes out, and he looks at me, and he goes, you own a business. Like, do you know how many people look up to you from working for my camps and running your own business? Like, you mean something to these kids. And in that moment between Chaston and the Schaefer family from East Texas, because at Louisville we pinned by state, so I was always over with the Schaefer crew and with the Texas crew and all of that, I realized, and one of my biggest pieces of advice I can give to anybody is it's not about the winning. And if you let yourself get caught up in the winning, you're not going to love what you do anymore. And I realized, even my senior year of high school, right, like, you're a senior, like, this is it, like, I want to go win my county show. There are so many factors in this industry you can't control, but you can control how you treat people and how you let others see you. And so walking out of Louisville in 2023, when I was completely done, my dad called me and was like, if you want to do it again, we'll make it happen. And we did. And I will tell you that this last show season was probably my only show season ever that I wasn't worried about winning. That's not what it was about. It was about me coming back to enjoy what I did and remembering why I did it, and to now step away and see my sister have her success. I mean, I got asked in a scholarship interview, who's the better showman, and I said my sister. And I fully believe that she will win more than I ever did. She's very naturally talented. So I enjoyed that this last show season of being like, hey, it's not about the winning. Like, I do this because I enjoy it, not because I have to go win something. So my biggest piece of advice is don't chase the wins, because they're not what matters. You can be successful and not have all the titles and the buckles and the trophies in the world.
I feel like that's advice that anybody can take, not only people in the ag industry, like people that are wanting to be like great in sports or academics. Like, that's advice anybody could take. All right, so looking ahead, Peyton, how can our listeners get involved and even suggest topics that they want to hear?
So if you want to get involved, you can follow us on our Instagram, Spotify, or YouTube page. And if you have any topics you would like to suggest or have any potential podcast guests you'd like to see, you can DM us on our Instagram page at barnyard.banter.podcast, which is linked below.
All right, so how can our listeners contact you if they have any questions or just want more information?
So I would say reach out to farm.fierce@gmail.com. I'm constantly responding to emails all the time. And then also through my Facebook page and my Instagram, which are both Farm Fierce, it would be how to contact me and get more information on anything show sheep, leg wrap, all the advice, anything that you need. Reach out to those pages and I'm always willing to help.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much for listening to our podcast.
We're excited about our upcoming podcast that will post on the 1st and 3rd of every month.
Next on our podcast is a local ag teacher that is chartering new things in the Waco area. Peace, love, ag.